All right. You want to come along with me to find out my tattoo journey? Keep on watching. I should have known that what I wanted wouldn't have been accomplished by this tattoo artist, but I just desperately wanted a tattoo and thought this guy was good. So I booked the day before. I went into the shop and I told the artist what I wanted in hopes that he would create a custom design based off what I said. He couldn't grasp what I was saying, which already should have been a red flag, but I didn't care. Just wanted a tattoo. So I drew it on a napkin, and basically what I drew on the napkin is exactly what I got on my thigh. It's a heart, obviously, with cat paws inside, and then roses and leopard print. The roses and leopard print happened the following year, so at this point, it's just a heart with paws. The heart just looks like it was drawn in with crayon. It's always been patchy, and then I always hated the fact that he left some random negative space around the paws. At this point, it wouldn't have made it any better. When he was finished with the tattoo, I asked him if he was actually done yet and why he left that space, and he says it needed room to breathe. But if that was the case, why not make all of the negative space the same amount of negative space everywhere? Some spots have more negative space than others, super patchy, never fully being happy with it. He told me that I could always get the line work added later on, and I could always fill in that negative space. Because originally I asked he asked me actually if the heart should have an outline, and I said I wasn't sure. What did he think? And he said, well, you can always add it later. So now we're given you can add a line later, and you could fill in the negative space later. So he told me to book a touch-up appointment when I was finished with the initial tattoo, and so I think we made it a month later. He went in, I asked about it, he said nah, and he touched it up and it still looked exactly the same. The next year, on my 19th birthday, I went to a new tattoo artist. I went to a shop called Ink Couture and spoke with the owner of the store, and he asked me what I wanted, and I told him I wanted American traditional flowers because I actually took one of the advices that I give you all. Look at roses online and which rose appeals more to you. Obviously, I was specifically looking at roses because that's what I wanted. So whatever you want, look up XYZ tattoo and then see what style appeals to you the most. That's how I decided American traditional. The second I said American traditional, the owner was like, hold on. So he brings this artist over, and this artist is named Six with 2 X's. He tattooed my mom as well, actually. We already kind of knew we didn't like his work. So why I got tattooed from him, I don't know. But I looked at his portfolio and thought oh, it's okay. It's fine. Maybe what he'll do on me will be different because a lot of his work isn't traditional. So maybe his traditional work is better and I'm just not finding it. So he drew up what I said I wanted, except when I wanted 3 roses, one to signify each one of my cats, because each cat paw is for each cat. Each cat paw gets a rose, right? Genius idea, I know. I wanted catnip to be the other flower in the mix, and I wanted this to surround the heart tattoo that I already had. He drew 2 fully formed roses and then a rosebud, which I already didn't like, but was too nervous to say anything. I have a rosebud and 2 roses with leopard print on the other side, and when I said I wanted leopard print, I wanted the fuzzy haze in the background to be rainbow, which would have, again, it still would have been a mistake, but at least it would have been what I wanted. He just ended up doing black and gray. That day, he ran so far behind with his appointments. The reason that a lot of the things in my tattoo that I wanted aren't there is simply because he was in a rush to get home. So in 2015, my sister was getting her first big tattoo, and it was also a thigh tattoo on the same thigh. copycat. She went to a guy named Rob. I don't know his last name. He worked in a private studio. And I don't know how my sister found this artist, but she was getting the Deathly Hallows movie scene, and I went with her. So he kept calling me a fairy, and then that night I was like, oh my god, how sick would it be to get a fairy tattoo? So then I texted him about getting a fairy tattoo, and he's like, oh my god, this is so sick. So then we did that. The first drawing, I hated it, but it was in his style, to be fair. He's a black and gray artist, and I wanted something like cute and dainty and traditional. And obviously I got none of those things. I nixed his first design and I made him draw me a new one. And then, so it was a fairy with cat ears and a cat tail, and obviously with fairy wings. And honestly, I liked it for a while. I didn't realize that this tattoo was so shitty, because I didn't really know what I wanted yet. We got the hot girl discount. She still gets the hot girl discount, which I guess is why she still goes to him, which I think is a mistake. My sternum tattoo is my third tattoo that I ever got. I went to the Pagoda City Tattoo Expo. My boyfriend at the time had an appointment with Dave Kruseman, who is a traditional artist. And this was like when the sternum tattoo trend was just on the rise, and I was thinking, oh my god, this is like the greatest placement. I need this tattoo. I need this spot tattooed. I didn't care like what it was. I like the first mandala I see, I'm getting. And so I walked around the entire convention while my boyfriend was getting tattooed, and didn't really find anyone that was doing it, and the people that I did talk to about it were either booked or like not interested in tattooing that area. So like, fair enough, sternums are a pain in the ass to begin with, so on top of that, doing it at a convention, probably not ideal. And honestly, I probably should have listened to them. I ended up going back to the booth that my boyfriend was in, and one of those artists happened to have had a mandala, and then I asked him, and then pretty much just got in like 2 hours later. I got that tattoo by an artist named Patrick Aiken. He was perfectly fine, had no problems. Definitely one of the worst tattoos to sit for. Apparently I sat like a rock. Didn't heal the best, but it also didn't heal the worst. It is black and gray, and just not the style that I want anymore. It's not necessarily a poorly done tattoo, just not what I want anymore. So now I'm going to another convention. I went to the No Limits Tattoo Expo. This one was awesome. My boyfriend and I at the time had done a ton of research before. We actually like looked at every single artist that was supposed to be there because we didn't have any appointments, but we knew we wanted to get tattooed. I forget where it was, but it was at a casino, which was even cooler. Both of those were actually at casinos. We're walking around and we're looking for Becca Beacon, I think her name is. Well, regardless, her name's Becca, and she used to work at Hand of Glory, but now she works in Kings Avenue. But she was going with the shop Hand of Glory because that's where she worked at the time. So we were specifically looking for her because we loved her work. And I really wanted to get tattooed. Well, actually, we both did. We were hoping to both get tattooed from her. We ended up going to her booth, and she wasn't there. And the two artists that were at her booth as well, like, didn't know where she was. And so we just, like, kept walking around in hopes to find her. Granted, we had no idea what she looked like. We only knew what her work looked like. We ended up talking to these two artists that were at the booth, and Brian Faulk, who has tattooed me predominantly now, he had like this wonderful portfolio. Like that morning, all of a sudden, I was like, oh my god, you know what I want? A hammerhead with an anchor. I think I'll get it on my foot. That's what I told my mom that morning, and she's like, where is this coming from? And I'm like, duh, I love sharks. Dead set on getting a hammerhead and anchor. So I told Brian, I was like, hey, I was thinking about this, and like, would you be willing to tattoo it? Because I loved the way he did sharks. And he said, hell yeah. I gave him $50 and he started drawing. He told me to come back in like half an hour, 45 minutes. So we walked around the convention and we were actually trying to find someone else that we thought could have also done it. Not because like I needed a better price or anything. I just wanted like more options, I guess, because we pretty much booked that immediately. We just kept looking, didn't find anyone, thank goodness. And we went back, and then my boyfriend at the time ended up getting tattooed by the other artist that just so happens to be in that booth. My tattoo was great. I loved it. It was bigger than I initially wanted. Like I said, I wanted it on my foot. Obviously got it on my calf, but I mean, I'm not mad at it. It's still one of my favorite tattoos, if not my favorite tattoo. So the day after this tattoo convention...
What take is this?
What is this, the fifth one, fourth one, fifth, sixth one? Sixth? We had an appointment in Maryland, so we drove, 4.5, 5 hours to go to Maryland. I did actually have an appointment at the tattoo convention that I met him at 2 conventions ago. I asked him if he would be able to fix my upper thigh, because I hated it already. And he said he totally could, like easy peasy. So I went to his shop in hopes to get it fixed. Like I was hoping to get a cover up or a touch up or something. When I got there, he said he wasn't feeling it. And because I just got a tattoo on my leg the day before, he didn't want to tattoo that leg. Which, great. Thanks. So I got the back of my other thigh tattooed. And meanwhile, at this point, like, I don't have that many tattoos. This was my first visible tattoo, my hammerhead. I didn't even know if I wanted my other leg tattooed. And still, this is the only tattoo on that leg. And I kind of wish I didn't have that tattoo on that leg. I wish it was on the same leg as all my other tattoos, because then I would be almost done with that leg. And it's the same style as everything else there. His plan was to put the same tattoo on the other thigh, but he ended up getting like called back into Ink Master because he's like contracted because he won Ink Master. He couldn't do anything about it, so we had an appointment with him like once a month for that year because we were just insane. So all of those got canceled, so I never got the other thigh done. And at this point, I have zero intentions of ever doing that because I wanted a cat with a top hat and I got a mandala. This tattoo that I'm going to talk about next is my other lower calf tattoo, which is my mermaid and octopus. It is September 16th, 2016, and I am now single, and I go back to Brian Faulk because this is by far my favorite tattoo that I have on my body at this point, and I wanted to get more work from him, obviously. I feel like that's a natural next step. So I contacted him, like, I think a month before this appointment, and I was like, hey, I was thinking of getting a mermaid and an octopus tattooed. I don't have anything specific in mind. I told him the days I was available, he told me the days he was available, and we pretty much just made it work from there. I don't remember if I came in for a consultation, but I read back at my emails, and he did ask for me to come in, and I just don't know if I did, because I just can't remember at this point. This was a 2-session tattoo. The first session was 6 hours, so also like sitting for a crazy amount of time. At this point, I've only sat, granted my ribcage tattoo took me probably 4.5 hours. This was by far my longest tattoo to sit for, and I honestly didn't know I was going to be sitting for this long because tattooing is still like a mystery to me. I haven't, like, Brian just happened to be a successful accident, you know? I still didn't know how to pick good tattoo artists. Or how to pick artists at all. I just happened to have realized that, hey, Brian gave me my favorite tattoo so far, like I should just keep going to him, right? And it was all just black and gray, just line work stuff at this point. Not black and gray, but you know what I mean. It just had black lines and shading. So, great first session. My parents are really unhappy with this tattoo for some reason. Like, more unhappy than they were with the other tattoos. Just, I guess because I'm now, like, getting heavily tattooed because now my lower calf is pretty much filled up, right? I go back in for my second session, and my dad was, like, super angry at me. He made me cry about, like, getting tattooed, acting like I'm going off to, like, do heroin for the first time. We ended up having, like, a heart-to-heart moment right before I left for this tattoo, so I think I ended up being, like, 15 minutes late to my appointment. Also, just parking in Brooklyn because this was actually at a tattoo shop. Crazy. And parking in Brooklyn's always misery. Took me a while to find a spot. Went to the appointment, and then I got it filled in. Like, I don't even know why this tattoo was such an issue. Like, I wasn't getting another one. I was just finishing the one that I had started, which I was super happy about because you couldn't really tell the mermaid's tail from the octopus at this point. Everyone kept asking me questions about it, like, oh, where is there even a mermaid? And I had to, like, keep pointing her out. So I was very excited to finally get her colored in. Also, who wants to have an unfinished tattoo on their body? It's just frustrating. My lower calf was done in 2016 in November. So I guess that you could say I took a break. So February, the tattoo convention in Philly is coming up, and this will be my first time going. Like I said, I'm single now, so on Valentine's Day, I wanted to like not be doing anything like in Staten Island where I'd be sad about being single, because I guess that's what I thought I was going to be doing. So I went to the tattoo convention thinking I was going alone, and then a friend of mine went with me. I found out Brian was going to be at this Philly tattoo convention, so the second I found out on Instagram that he was going to be there, I messaged him and I was like, hey, like, well, actually, I think I specifically emailed him. I messaged the other artists I get tattooed during this convention. Get tattooed by during this convention. So I emailed Brian. I was like, hey, can I book a spot with you for the Philly tattoo convention? I really want to go, and now I would love to get tattooed by you again. So obviously he said, hell yeah. And I was torn between 3 designs. I wanted to get either a helmet, like your classic old school diving helmet, a clipper ship, or a stingray. Obviously we know now that I got a stingray. He drew up the helmet and the stingray, but wasn't sure how I would be able to sit for it. So we got the stingray, and we said that we'd probably just do the other tattoo on my other foot. I never ended up doing that. Got my stingray during the convention. It was actually my easiest tattoo to sit for at this point. It was probably mainly because I was in a really comfortable position. I was literally like sitting with like my foot out, and that was it. It was wonderful. Ideal. It was still at a convention, so of course people were like walking by asking me questions about my tattoos, as that happens every time I'm at a convention. The next day, I found out that artist that did my sternum tattoo was gonna be there. And at this point, I still love that tattoo, so I was like, hell yeah, let's go get another one by this guy. I picked another mandala because I'm just so original. And I got this mandala on the back of my back. Yes, I got between my shoulder blades on my back, being like my first very visible tattoo. I didn't realize how visible this tattoo was going to be, but it pokes out of almost every single shirt I wear. It's a well done tattoo. I can't really complain about the way it was done. I do wish it was traditional at this point, but at that point I loved it, and it's actually one of my most complimented tattoos. I said this was a tattoo artist that I went to before, Patrick Aiken, and he ended up being like super sketchy. He ended up asking me for pictures of my healed sternum, but to like specifically not wear a bra and not like cover anything, and that he would blur out my nipples if it needed to be blurred out. So I ended up sending him those pictures because, again, like 19 and naive. And then the next day he was like, oh, like, I'll appreciate you in Staten Island, maybe I can come over. And this was like on Valentine's Day, and he was like saying he would come down to come see me. And I was really not into it. Also, I knew that he had 2 kids and a wife, so like even worse. He kept asking me for nudes, and then he sent me a picture of him shirtless, and he told me it was my turn. That same shirtless picture was also on his Instagram already, so it was like a pretty cheap picture I just got there. Yeah, right? Like, try a little harder. Either which way, never get tattooed by him. Unless you like being sexually harassed after your tattoo is done. I guess it's better than being sexually harassed during your tattoo. Like, he never touched me inappropriately or anything. He just made me incredibly uncomfortable after the fact. I just ended up blocking him after that. I told his wife that he was sending me these messages. She never answered me. She blocked me, I think, at some point. So yeah. The Invisible Man is the next tattoo that I get. And I think at this point, I'm good at picking out tattoo artists. I figured it out. I take a little bit of a hiatus, I guess you can say, because from February to June I don't get tattooed, which is probably the biggest gap that I have in like my tattoo journey. I finally know for a fact I want American traditional. I hate my thigh tattoo. I hate my ribcage tattoo. I don't love my sternum, but it's still fine. I don't love my back, but still fine. I mean, I get compliments on it all the time. How bad could it be, you know? I'm looking at artists on Instagram at this point. I probably follow way too many artists to realistically ever get tattooed by any of them. Mesi is a great tattoo artist from Philly. I actually met him at the Philly Tattoo Convention, but at that point I heard he had 2 tattoos from that convention, so did not get another. The girl that I went with was actually like crushing real hard on him. She desperately wanted to go meet him as if he was a celebrity. I had never heard of him, and so we went, saw his work. I was a cosplayer at this point, and I cosplayed a character from Bleach named Nelly L2 Auto Faulk. He actually had a few tattoos that he has done of her and had flash of Bleach. So I ended up talking to him about that. He was super nice. So I started following him on Instagram, and I'm so happy I did, because now in June, I get a tattoo from him. And this tattoo is obviously the Invisible Man. It is a tribute to my great uncle who passed away that year. I wanted to get the Invisible Man because it was the last movie that my uncle and I had watched together. We used to see each other when I was little every Sunday, and then we went to, as I got older and was working all the time, we kind of switched to seeing each other every Wednesday. The last Wednesday that I saw him alive, we watched The Invisible Man. We were watching all the other scared guys from back in the day. So we watched Frankenstein, we watched the Frankenstein with his new wife, so the Bride of Frankenstein. We watched The Creature of the Black Lagoon. We watched the werewolf movie, whatever, the Wolfman, whatever that movie is. And we were specifically trying to find the Invisible Man. He goes to flea markets in Pennsylvania, and he was specifically trying to find that movie, for sale. And he eventually found it, and that was the last movie we watched together. So I got my uncle's glasses and my uncle's button-down shirt, because he always wore those 2 things, as the Invisible Man, pretty much. I should say that sentence again, huh? I got the Invisible Man, but wearing my uncle's button-down shirt and glasses, because those were the 2 things he wore the most. So we go to the Philly Tattoo Convention again, because my first experience was so great at the Philly Tattoo Convention, we gotta go again. So now I have a new boyfriend. New boyfriend, new me. What year is this? What year are we in for the 2018? Oh my goodness, tattoo times fly. So February 18th, I make this our Valentine's Day retreat, I guess you could say. So we drive up to Philly. I got a beautiful hotel instead of the cheapest possible hotel. We didn't book anything, I don't think, right? No. We didn't have any tattoo appointments booked, so we just wanted to enjoy ourselves, see what was out there, see if we were gonna get anything. Well, I think we were specifically trying to find something. At this point, it was my boyfriend's first convention, and this is my 3rd. And so I think I'm hot shit. So I'm walking him around the convention, showing him the ropes, because I'm just so good at getting tattooed. And so we're going down each aisle, and we're both trying to find something very specific. We both specifically like American traditional, and a lot of the artists weren't great. We finally get to Jimmy Snaz's booth, and he has this really cool iguana print out for sale on his station, and we're like, oh my god, this is the guy. And then I go through his flash work, and I see this shark lady, and I'm like, oh my god, this is so the guy, we need to go to him. We talked to him. He actually wasn't at the booth yet. We talked to his brother, because it was kind of hard to see whose work was whose. His brother Kyle was also at their station, and his brother was in the bathroom or something. So we just came back in 20 minutes, or we pretty much stalked his table. We kept walking around trying to pretend we weren't stalking his table, but we were completely stalking his table. Impatiently waited for him to come back, and then pretty much just booked 2 appointments right then and there. I think we did mine first and his second, just because since mine was flash, he was able to do it that night. And then he custom drew my boyfriend's now iguana headpiece, which is sick, or might I say stinking rad. I had $600 on me this time, and so I ended up paying $600 for both tattoos. So I probably ended up haggling accidentally, but it was just all the money that I had on me. I wasn't trying to haggle. Don't haggle your artists.
It's not cool.
We are in 2019, so pretty recently. I have far too many jobs at this point in my life, but not enough time to myself, so I just have like a stupid amount of money. And I finally decided I want to get a sleeve. This sleeve that I have now, my beautiful sleeve that's technically not finished, but I'm gonna call it a sleeve anyway. I always knew I wanted this sleeve. I wanted to get my 3 favorite movies, and I already have a movie tattooed on it, so I might as well do this arm. So I wanted Back to the Future, Jurassic Park, and Jaws. I didn't care which order I got them in. I didn't really care about their designs specifically. Down the line, of course, I ended up deciding, but I always knew that I wanted these 3. I ended up getting Jaws first. I emailed Brian Faulk, and I was like, hey, Brian, can you hook me up? I want this sleeve, and I feel like you're the best guy to do it. I know you're doing Japanese bodysuits at this point, but like, I'm hoping you're still down to do traditional like you used to. And apparently he was. I was probably like a nice change of pace at this point. So at this point, all my best work on my body is from Brian. So like, why do I keep trying to go to other artists? I don't understand. So I just stopped. Going to other artists. I told him I just wanted like the cover art of Jaws. So I got my sick Jaws head with the ship inside his mouth, which I didn't ask for, but I am super happy it's there. It's one of those things where like you don't really notice at first, and then the longer you look at that tattoo, you're like, holy shit, it's so cool. So I have some blood drips coming out of the water, and a cool little rope going around it. And in that rope, you can see the name of the boat from the movie. Everyone thinks that my shark is an angry whale because it says orca in the background. It's just like orcas are the natural prey of sharks, or of great white sharks, like, you know, Jaws. And so that's why they made the boat that kills the shark the name of that whale. Clever, I know. I wish I had thought of it. Then I get my Hold On to Your Butts Jurassic Park tattoo. This one, I was having such a hard time trying to visualize what to get. And I was thinking, like, I had an artist, well, a tattoo artist specifically, Dead Meat. He did this really cool T-Rex with like laser beams coming out of his eyes and like a really sick rose, and I just wanted it so bad, but like it really didn't fit the rest of my style that I wanted to keep up at this point. You see like the clever girl velociraptor tattoo floating around Instagram. I feel like every single tattoo artist has done this tattoo, so I really didn't want to get a velociraptor. I wanted to get a T-Rex, but I wasn't sure if I wanted to get a T-Rex. And then I always see this common motif in traditional, the trust no one with the hand shaking a snake. Arnold from Jurassic Park dies, and the only thing left is his arm. You see his arm going on the paleontologist's shoulder. She freaks out, and then you see like it's just a severed arm. So I thought, what if I did that arm, but with a velociraptor, because obviously we know a velociraptor is what killed him. So I thought that would be sick, and instead of saying trust no one, hold on to your butts, because that's like the most famous line he says in that movie. I think it's a pretty rad tattoo, with a little added bonus that whenever I wear a t-shirt, the only thing that you see is the word butts. Philly Tattoo Convention comes around, Jimmy Snaz is going to be there. He says he's willing to touch us up if we go, so we were going anyway. So we ended up going for like 2 days, and we got our touch-ups. But while I was there, I had to get another tattoo because I have no self-control. And I ended up getting this little dagger on my thumb. There's 2 holes in the ink that just didn't heal right. That kind of drives me nuts, but maybe one day I'll get it fixed. Maybe the next Philly convention. In April, I am dead set on finishing my sleeve. I book my Back to the Future appointment for my shoulder. He played with the design. Like, I was just like, I don't know what I want. I just want Back to the Future. I was thinking maybe the DeLorean. I was thinking of maybe getting a milkshake that says you're my density, which would have been super cute. Maybe I'll get that somewhere else on my body as like a filler piece. But we ended up clearly settling on the DeLorean. He pretty much did all of the design work there, and I couldn't be happier with this piece. My lemon ditch tattoo was a design that my boyfriend had drawn up about Adventure Time. So it's basically like lemon grab from the show, and he always says this is unacceptable, and I just loved this design. I thought it was so cool, and the fact that like you don't know that it's Adventure Time without watching Adventure Time, I think is pretty sick. I pretty much just found an artist that I think would have done it right. My friend Alexis was getting tattooed by this artist, and I asked him if he would be willing to tattoo someone else's artwork, and he said, hell yeah, let's do it. And that's really it. I got this tattoo on my ditch. So in August, I did the entire inner arm. So like from where my shark ends to where my armpit begins, this beautiful lady fills it up. She is from the movie The Prestige. She is the wife of one of the magicians in the movie, and pretty much her death is the driving force of the whole movie. I almost forgot how much I loved this movie, and then one day I rewatched it and I was like, oh my god, she's beautiful. What if we did like a pinup of her? And so I told Brian Faulk I finally had an idea how to finish it, and then we did. And I love her. She took 2 sessions. She's one of my more expensive tattoos on my arm. I think she is now one of my favorite tattoos. She's at least the most beautiful that I have on my arm. I kind of take another hiatus, mainly because I don't really have a ton of money, but I'm dying to get this back piece. I've wanted this back piece forever, back before I got good at getting tattoos. I wanted to get the swamp tree or the mangrove tree from Avatar: The Last Airbender, and I never was able to find an artist that I thought could do the tattoo that I wanted in my head. And I saw Sad Boy Kurt on Instagram back when I met Chris Mesi, because they worked in a shop together. And I was just so fascinated by his work, but I felt like it wasn't traditional enough where I could put it with like, make it really visible and put it where like the rest of my tattoos are, because it just wouldn't fit. It would stick out like a sore thumb, which is great for him, but like not great for like the continuity of my bodysuit. So I finally settled on getting a tattoo from Sad Boy Kurt, and I am freaking obsessed with this tattoo. We've only done the line work. This tattoo took 7 hours, 6.5, 7 hours. I can't wait to get the next one. My appointment is in May to start filling in the color. So my coworkers all wanted to get Friday the 13th tattoos, specifically me and my manager. But I ended up picking a shop that I know only has like established artists, and it was actually the same shop as the guy who did my lemon. I actually got tattooed by him just by luck of the draw. We all got tattooed, and I just happened to get a 13. Have no complaints. I hope you enjoyed my tattoo tour. Hopefully this is a better insight on how to plan out your bodysuit. Maybe start less visible, go more visible as you go. Have fun getting tattoos, and I hope you had fun listening to me talk about my tattoos.